I'm Leanne certified Iyengar yoga teacher at Yoga for All Bodies in Reston, Virginia in the United States. Today, we're doing a beginner sequence of 12 poses. The first pose is Tadasana, mountain pose. You can either practice in the middle of the room or against the wall for additional stability. Place the weight on the feet, on the head of the pinky toe, big toe ball of the foot, and the center of the heel. At the same time, lift the arches. If you have back issues or stability issues, stand with the feet hip-width apart. Otherwise, have the big toes touch. To help get the weight on the 3 points of the feet, lift the toes, spread them side to side, front to back. Press into the head of the pinky toe, big toe ball of the foot, and the center of the heel. Lift the arches towards the ceiling and let the toes rest on the mat. Move the tops of the thigh bones back into the body. Keep the middle buttock moving forward into the body. Keep the low ribs in the body. Pick a point mid-level or just above on which to fix the eyes. Extend the arms down while keeping the neck and the shoulders soft. Lift the crown of the head up towards the ceiling so the sides of the neck are long. Tadasana, mountain pose. The next pose is Urdhva Hastasana in Tadasana, upward hands in mountain pose. Externally rotate the arms by turning the palms towards the ceiling. Now you're going to lift the arms, only go so far as there's no pain or pinching in the shoulder joints. As you extend the arms, extend from the armpits to the fingertips. To lift the arms, it's perfectly fine to stop here if that's right for your body today. Lift the arms to lift the ribs. Move the inner shoulder blades down the body. Keep extending the tailbone down towards the floor. Keep the same actions you had in Tadasana, with the head of the top of the thigh moving back towards the wall behind you. Middle buttocks in, low ribs into the body. Extend the arms out to the sides, but keep the lift of the ribs. If there's no pain in the shoulder joints, then you could bring the arms forward for a second round of Urdhva Hastasana in Tadasana, upward hands in mountain pose. Use the arms to lift the ribs. Then bring the arms back down besides the body. The next pose is Urdhva Baddhanguliasana in Tadasana, upward bound fingers pose in mountain pose. To do this, bring the arms forward. Bring the palms together. If you had any pain in the shoulders, instead of doing this pose, go back and do 2 more rounds of Urdhva Hastasana, upward hands. Okay. So if you're doing Urdhva Baddhanguliasana, bring the palms together, interlock the fingers, right thumb on top, every other finger alternates. Press the webs of the fingers together, then turn the palms out to straighten the arms. Inhale, lift the arms to lift the ribs so that the palms face towards the ceiling. You can look up and see, are my palms facing towards the ceiling? Then let the chin be level. Continue the same actions as from Tadasana. Move the tops of the thighs back into the body. Move the middle buttock forward into the body. Move the low ribs back into the body rather than letting them poke forward. Bring the arms back down to parallel. Turn the palms to face you. Change the interlock so the left thumb is on top and every other finger alternates. Press the webs of the fingers together. Turn the palms out. Lift the arms to lift the ribs. You're looking to get length in the spine here. Again, look to make sure the palms are pressing towards the ceiling. Use the arms to lift the ribs while letting the tailbone extend towards the floor. Bring the arms back down. Turn the palms to face you. Bring the hands in front of the chest and release. The next pose is Uttanasana, intense stretch pose, and we're going to do first a variation called Ardha Uttanasana, half intense stretch pose. If when you did Urdhva Hastasana, your hands were low and wide, you're going to use that same positioning on the wall. If you were able to get your hands completely over your head, then place your hands shoulders width apart, in line with your shoulders. So I'll show this variation first, high and wide. Have the inner edges of the feet parallel to each other, feet hip width apart. Bend the knees, step the right foot back, and then the left. Hinge at the hip creases so that the outer hips, knees, and ankles are all stacked on top of each other. So you're a straight line from the floor to the hips. Same actions here as in Tadasana. Move the tops of the thighs back. Move the middle buttock into the body towards the wall. Keep the low ribs moving into the body rather than collapsing into the low back. Bend the knees. Step forward with the same foot you step back with. If you're more flexible in the shoulders already, you can take the hands in line with the shoulders, bend the knees, step foot with the back with the other foot this time. Keep the inner edges of the feet parallel to each other, feet hip width apart. Continue to have the hips, knees, ankles stacked on top of each other and come to 90 degrees. If you don't have a mirror, get a helper to look at you and see if you're 90 degrees. Keep the ears between the arms, extend the crown of the head towards the wall. Same actions as in Tadasana, move the tops of the thighs back into the body, move the middle buttock towards the wall, and keep the low ribs moving into the body. Bend the knees, step forward with the same side foot, and release. Our next pose is Adhomukha Svnasana. I'm going to show you a higher variation on it for those with tight shoulders, and then a variation on bricks. So you can have a chair of any kind. It does not have to be a yoga chair. Something that's got a stable back and seat. And take your hands to the tops of the chair and walk the feet back. So the difference between this pose and the last pose we did is that this is a V shape. The last pose we did is an L shape. This is a V shape. So you can take your hands to the top of the chair or to the seat of the chair to get even more of a V. Lift the outer hips towards the ceiling. Maybe you can take your hands to the front of the chair. You can come up onto the tiptoes to lift the outer hips up and extend back. Keep the ears between the arms, extend the crown of the head away from the shoulders so that the sides of the neck are long. Keep the same actions here as you did in Tadasana. Move the tops of the thighs back into the body. Move the middle buttock forward into the body. Keep the low ribs moving into the body rather than collapsing in the low back. Bend the knees. Step forward and come up. Either repeat with the chair, or if you're more flexible in the shoulders and you have a set of bricks, take the bricks, put the long ends against the wall. You're going to put your hands on the bricks so the thumb and the index finger are against the wall. Put the thumb and the index finger against the wall. Then walk the feet back. You can be up on the toes if your hamstrings are tight. You can even lift up to help get that pike, that V shape, and then extend the bottoms of the feet away from the toes, away from the wall, back towards the wall behind you to come down. Let the ears be in line with the arms. Extend the crown of the head away from the shoulders. Keep the same actions. Move the tops of the thighs back into the body. Move the middle buttock into the body. Move the front ribs into the body. And then bend the knees and walk forward. Come up. I'm going to show a variation where you start from the floor. Also want to specify where the middle buttock is. So upper, middle, lower buttock. So when middle buttock comes in, instead of letting it jut back, make sure it moves into the body. Here's the variation on the floor. Again, the hands on the bricks. Turn the toes under. Bring the buttocks back towards the heels. Then push the heels back to come up. So don't let the torso come forward as you come up. Instead, push the heels back to come up to help you get that pike. That V shape in downward facing dog, Adhomukha Svnasana. Come down. If you don't want the support of the wall to come up, you can use it. Otherwise, come up. Our next pose is Dandasana, staff pose. And we're going to show first without props. So if I'm moving the flesh of the buttocks back, if when you sit your back is rounded, you must sit on some height to protect your back. If you have two bricks, you can take the two bricks, put them next to each other so the short end faces straight ahead towards the center of the room, and then sit on the bricks to help you to sit up straight. Another option, if you don't need as much height as there are bricks, would be to take one or two folded blankets and sit on the folded blankets. When you sit in yoga, always sit on the front edge so that the sit bones, the pokey parts that you can feel back here, are on the front edge, and the thigh has freedom rather than getting caught on whatever you're sitting on. Now take the flesh of the buttocks straight back. If you have back issues, keep the feet apart. Otherwise, you can bring the feet together. Take the hands besides the hips. Guruji B.K.S. Iyengar says this is both a back bend and a forward bend. So press the fingertips down to get length in the spine. Hinge at the hip creases, and then draw the dorsal spine in to lift the chest. Press the hands down. Draw the pinky toe side of the foot back towards the face. Let the tops of the thighs descend towards the mat. Keep the middle buttock moving in and the low ribs moving back into the body. Dandasana, staff pose. Our next pose is Virasana, hero's pose. It's a pose where you're sitting between your feet. I'm going to show it from the back first. And I'm going to do it on blankets to protect my knees. So my toes hang off the blankets. This also works if you have tight ankles. And I take my fingers, move the flesh of the calf back first, then out to the side. And then I sit between my feet, keeping my knees as aligned as possible so the top of the leg and the bottom of the leg are straight. Toes point straight back, heels are to the outside of the hips. You're not sitting on your feet, you are sitting between your feet. So I've already shown one option for if you have tight ankles or if you hyperextend and need the grounding, get yourself a couple of blankets. If it's too much on your knees to sit between your feet, then take your bricks, put it lengthwise so you have room for both sit bones, then let the toes hang off if you're using the blankets, move the flesh of the calf back and out to the side, and sit on the brick instead of on the floor, but still be between your heels rather than on your heels. Then the hands come onto the legs to press down to lift the chest. Virasana, hero's pose. You could also try, if one brick is not enough, try a second brick. You could add a blanket. I don't recommend a third brick because it's not very stable. And the other option is, if this is not accessible, is to get that chair that you have, sit on the front edge of it, hold on to it, and even one at a time, work on turning the legs under. And once you've got that, then you can start working on the floor. Virasana, hero's pose. The next pose is Adhomukha Vajrasana. And let me show the feet first. In this case, the big toes point towards each other, and you sit in the saddle that the heels make. This is what it looks like. Big toes point towards each other, and the buttocks come to the heels that to the saddle that the heels make, knees point straight ahead. And Adhomukha means downward facing. So you have multiple options here. Once you're in the position with your feet, you could take that trusty chair that you have, hinge at the hip creases to take the arms to the chair and the head to the arms. Okay. Make sure your back stays straight and that your buttocks remain on the heels. Once you've stayed here some time, you can change the cross of the arms. And then come up. The other option is to use a bolster if you have one. This time you'll take the knees apart, take the bolster in between the legs. You can elevate the bolster for your head if you like. If you have glasses, take them off. Press down to lift up. Again, press the front groins back so that the buttocks stay on the heels. Lay the abdomen on the bolster. Cross the arms on top of the bolster. Rest the head on the arms on top of the bolster. Once you've stayed for some time, change the cross of the arms. Then inhale and come up. All right. Our next pose is Paschimottanasana. Intense stretch of the back side of the body. It's a forward bend. It's done at this beginning stage on a chair. So grab your trusty chair, put it so that when you sit on the front edge of the chair, your feet are against the wall, legs straight. Then take the bolster or bricks or blankets, if you have them, put it on top of your legs, press down to lift up, hinge at the hip crease. You can press the top of the bolster down to be able to lift up and over the bolster, and then let the head rest. Again, you can change the cross of the arms as you stay for a little bit. If you don't have a bolster, have the feet against the wall. Press down to get length in the spine. Keep the tops of the thighs moving down towards the floor. Keep the middle buttock moving in. Keep the lower ribs moving in. And whatever part of the leg you can hold on to, hold on to. So that you stretch the legs and learn how to get the back to work properly so you don't round, but you bring the dorsal spine in. The dorsal spine is this upper middle back, middle of the thoracic spine. And then come up. Paschimottanasana, intense stretch of the back side of the body, the west side of the body. The next pose is Vajrasana. It's a twist. Vajra is a name, so it doesn't have an exact translation. Again, you can use the chair. Sit on the front edge of the chair. Grab one of your bricks. Hold it between your thighs. Look at your feet, get them lined up, have the knees pointing straight ahead. So this is a twist. Press the hands into the chair to lift the spine, to lift the ribs. And then take your left hand across your body to the outer right knee or outer right thigh, and take the right hand back behind somewhere on the chair. For the moment, keep the head in the midline of the spine. Press down to lengthen, to lift the ribs, and then on an exhale, move the right shoulder blade across the back towards the left shoulder blade to help get the shoulders in one line. Then the last thing is to turn the head to look as far over the right shoulder as possible. The entire time, keep your knees here and feet steady. And keep the tops of the thighs releasing down into the mat, or toward the floor. Bring the head back to the midline of the spine, release the twist. Take the hands to the chair, press down to lift up. Bring the left arm across, right hand back behind. Press down to lift the ribs. That'll give you freedom to twist. Keep the tops of the thighs releasing towards the floor. Now this time, move your left shoulder blade across the back towards the right shoulder blade to get the shoulders as close to in one line as possible. Keep the legs and feet stable. And then the last thing is to turn the head to look as far over the shoulder, left shoulder as possible. Bring the head back to the midline of the spine. Release the twist. You can either repeat on the chair, or I'll show you a variation with a brick or with two bricks. You come up onto your knees, put the brick under one buttock and swing the feet to the opposite side. So the opposite foot goes on top, pointing straight back. The bottom foot is perpendicular to the top foot. Okay, so they make a letter T. Then you sit on that brick. As much as possible, keep the hips level. I'll show that from the front as well. Put the brick on one buttock, swing the feet to the other side, sit down on the brick, make sure the feet make a T, keep the hips as level as possible and the knees as close to in one line as possible. Take your second brick, put it back behind. So in Vajrasana, you twist away from the feet when you're on the floor. Take your hand across, the hand that's on the same side as the feet, take it across the body, press down to lift up, rotate away from the feet, whatever direction you're rotating in, take the hand that's back, or the shoulder blade on the arm that's behind you moves towards the shoulder blade on the arm that's across your body. And the last thing is to turn the head to look over the shoulder. Use your arms as levers to help get the twist. Bring the head back to the midline of the spine. Release the twist. Come up onto your knees. Take the brick on the other buttock. Swing the feet over to the other side. Make sure they're a T. Then, keeping the hips level. Knees fairly even. Bring the arm across, away from the feet. Press the hand against the leg and the leg against the hand to rotate. Take the back hand on the brick. Move the shoulder blade of the arm that's on the brick across the back towards the other shoulder blade to get that rotation. Then turn the head to look as far over the shoulder as possible. Bring the head back to the midline of the spine. Release the twist. Vajrasana. Our next pose is a variation on shoulder stand called Svnasana. I'm going to show two variations on it. One, I'm going to use these two bricks and the bolster. I sit on the bolster. I need to get rid of anything that's holding my hair so my head can rest flat. Take my hands back, recline back, and then come back off the bolster just until my shoulders are on the mat. And I can bend the arms at the elbows to lift the chest as well. Then extend the arms. Then put the feet up on the bricks. Svnasana, it's a variation on shoulder stand. The head is lower than the heart, which is calming for the mind. The chest is open, which helps us to breathe and helps the shoulders to work properly. Stay here for up to 5 minutes, or even more if you're comfortable. If you don't have a bolster, you can use a pile of blankets. A little harder, but possible, is if you have 4 bricks, you could use 4 bricks. Putting one under the heels, one under the calves, one under the middle buttock, one right behind the shoulder blades, or at the bottom tips of the shoulder blades. There's more information on my website on that. To come out of the pose, bend the knees. Move the bolster forward and yourself back. Just rest for a moment. You've just had the back open in a big opening, so you don't want to roll or do anything sudden. Just let the back rest for 10 or 15 seconds. Then bend the knees, roll to the side, press yourself up with the head coming up last. I'm going to show another alternative for you if you don't have a bolster, and that is just a single brick alternative. Have it close by, sit on the mat, knees bent, take the hands behind you, recline back on the forearms. Keeping the knees bent, lift the middle buttock towards the ceiling, and place the brick under the sacrum and the upper buttock. Then, keeping the middle buttock engaged, lower the pelvis to the brick. Bend the arms at the elbows, lift the chest, keep the elbows fixed, and extend the arms. Now in this variation, keep the knees bent. If you like, you can take off your glasses. Be sure the toes are slightly pointed towards each other. That's to help protect the knees. Stay as long as you like. When you're ready to come out, press into the feet, lift the middle buttock towards the ceiling just enough to slide the brick out. Keep the middle buttock engaged to protect the low back as you bring the pelvis back to the mat. Then pause for a moment. We're transitioning from here right into Shavasana. Hold the edges of the mat, bring the feet together, press the mat away from the head and lengthen the feet away from the buttocks so the legs are straight. Move the shirt down if it's gotten in the way. Take the hands to the head. From the base of the skull, lift the head to look down the midline of the body. Are you even on the mat? If not, make any adjustments. Then, as you lower the head back to the mat, extend from the base of the skull along the back of the head so the neck is long. And bend the arms at the elbows to lift the chest. If you have glasses, take them off and set them to the side. Start with the legs together. Then as you relax, if the feet relax, it's okay. Soften the feet. Release the ankles. Soften the lower legs. Let the backs of the knees be broad and open. Soften the fronts of the knees. Release the front thighs. Let the tops of the thighs release towards the mat. Allow the middle buttock to move into the body so the waist comes to the mat. Soften the navel. Let it release towards the front spine. Spread the skin of the back evenly away from the midline of the body. Let the outer shoulders release so the front chest is broad and open and the outer shoulders can rest on the mat. Release the jaws so the lips touch just slightly. Let the tongue rest in the low jaw with the tip of the tongue away from the teeth. Soften the inner corners of the eyes. Let the outer corners of the eyes release towards the ears. Allow the eyebrows to move away from each other. Release the scalp away from the skull. Let the muscles of the face descend from the forehead down to the chin. Soften the back of the head. Let it release into the supports. If your chin is higher than your forehead, put some support under your head and neck so the forehead and chin are in one line. Soften the back neck. Release the backs of the arms. Just be in Shavasana, corpse pose. This is the final resting pose that gives your body the opportunity to absorb the work that it's done and your mind the chance to rest. When you're ready to come out of Shavasana, gently follow awareness as it returns to the surface of the body. Wiggle the fingers and toes. Bend the knees. Roll to the right side unless there's some reason for you to roll to the left. Use your arm or a blanket as support for your head. Pause for a moment. Use the top arm and the bottom leg, letting the head come up last. Press yourself up into a comfortable seated position. Sit in Dandasana again, since we just did it as part of the sequence. Bring the palms in front of the chest. Bow the head to the heart. Acknowledge yourself for what you've done for yourself. Release the hands, lift the head, and open the eyes.